This is Juan Jose Gutierrez, and this is my introduction to our third unit, first module, for the course SBS 335 Digital Ethnographies. We are going to be exploring one of the areas of the internet least understood, most frequented by users, and I would say least studied of them all. So this is an invitation to you to start building an understanding, not just as to what the deep web is, or what net porn is all about, or terror in cyberspace, or hackers, trolling, and all of the interesting things that are happening on the internet that seem to be perceived as, maybe for a reason, as those spaces where the immense network that the internet is poses threats, challenges, stir deep emotions, and then generates a deep utilization of our desires and fears and emotional drives. But that I guess what I'm saying here is that while it is prevalent, while it is a space of the internet that is heavily visited and used, is one of the least explored and conceptualized and theorized about. I've selected an ethnography. It's called Net Porn, and Do-It-Yourself Web Culture and Sexual Politics by Katherine Jacobs. As I was looking for an author that will help us navigate through these arenas and provide a perspective that we might agree or disagree with, but a perspective that is nonetheless the work of someone who has been trained to be able to explore and theorize these spaces. For us that we're exploring this, I assume for the first time from a theoretical perspective, and in this case from an anthropological perspective, it is important that to recognize that first we need to explore what it is and what are the definitions, boundaries, relevance, scope, and deepness, if you like, of these spaces. Because very much so, like Kinsey in the 1950s, with all the controversial positions and actions that he took, he nevertheless managed, he and his team managed to open up a space that was morally constricted and set aside, even from the realm of sciences, into an arena that is important to understand and explore and conceptualize. And in the case of Kinsey was mostly about sexuality, and the very shocking discovering that the normal views of human activity and relationships were actually quite a deformed or distant view and perception and conceptualization from what the data was telling him. The normative positions and understanding of sexuality were deeply challenged by what he did. And I think it enabled all different disciplines in the social and behavioral sciences to address this part of the human experience in a more objective and substantial manner. The internet, basically, as we have seen in other readings, it is conformed behind and around our rules and ways of interacting with others. To a certain extent, the internet has an impact on our behavior, but that impact is in terms of breadth and scope, never in terms of the nature of the interactions. So by exploring these aspects in the digital realm, we're actually exploring human nature, and that is fundamentally our task and our job. So we have to embrace this research as important, relevant, and critical to understand us as species and us as members of groups and societies and whatnot. The unit I have organized around 4 different aspects that I figure are not the only ones, but ones that deserve our exploration and best understanding. The first one is an exploration of just what the deep web is and just what does it mean. We tend to, if you know anything about the deep web, the deep web, if you've seen any of the explanations that are out there available, is a space where people search for and ensure that they are free from being observed and scrutinized in a non-conspicuous manner by other forces and powers. It's a place where people feel truly free to express their minds and explore what they want to say. But it is also a place where really dark things might be happening, like the transmission, selling, and buying of child pornography, the transmission of ideas that are dangerous to the fabric of different societies, the selling and buying of prohibited substances and drugs and you name it. But it is also a space where a movement that is trying to oppose the curtailing of freedoms can freely roam and get away with challenging the powers, real and factic and otherwise powers are there. And this is a space where those who see and who have fought for the network as a liberating tool or a tool for liberation are fighting every day to keep as such. And so it has these troubling, concerning aspects, and it also has aspects that deserve our consideration and our understanding. The deep web is both a space where this happens, but it's also technically an interesting space because it's being construed, is being deployed, and it's being used in a way that protects the anonymity, confidentiality, and integrity of those that are exploring those ideas. So it's positive and negative. If you have someone that is fighting against the imprisonment of journalism or journalists, and it's a space where people are trying to convey ideas that are otherwise they otherwise have the potential to bring these people to personal harm and imprisonment. So technically, the space will allow for that and will protect those that are issuing information. But by the same token, it is a space that can be used by people that are selling child pornography and other activities. So it has its risks, and as we explore it, we're going to explore it very much so with that understanding, and without actually getting ourselves involved in the actual production or otherwise participation in this area. I want you to know about it, and but it is a space that we need to go in with a certain degree of caution, most definitely. Insofar as exploring net porn and what's going on out there, well, we need to know that it is an immense space within the digital realm, and we need to know what's going on in there, and what does this space tells us about our understandings of sexuality, our understandings, and it's quite fascinating. And I thought that the ethnography that we're reading for this unit will give us an interesting view on what's going on there. I also explored, and maybe I have more trepidation about this than the last one. I also explore the deep web and the internet as a space where we can enact, convey, project our hatred and desire of annihilation to people that are not like us. And so the internet naturally has become also a platform for those that are driving those ideologies and those ideas, which actually has a clear representation on religious-based groups such as ISIS. But I want us not to be fooled. This hatred and terror comes from all different places and religions, and it's certainly not something that it's reduced to or only defined by what's going on with the with terror that is driven by religious ideologies from countries like Syria or wherever ISIS has presence now. I think terror comes from all other places, and we see that in the real world, and we're going to see that on the internet. So how's terror played on the internet, and how are these ideologies of destruction and annihilation being portrayed in the internet, and how these ideologies use the internet to do that? And last but not least, I'd like for us to explore a sort of a counterculture of hacking and hosting and just using the internet to go against the grain and sometimes just for sports, if you like, to troll and bother others that are using the internet in a different way. So these are the fringes, definitely, of the internet. And I think it's important that we explore it and figure out what it is and what are the implications. And of course, you're going to take these implications on your personal life, but also you're going to take these implications as trainee in the social sciences. And I'm quite positive that all of you will end up benefiting from this exploration, as our world seems to be more and more geared towards, driven by these forces, groups, and processes that are taking place on the internet. So I think it's important to do that exploration. I'm enjoying tremendously reading the textbook and exploring these aspects. All the clips and journal articles that I've read are really enlightening me, and I'm just hoping to share with you in this academic space some of the reflections and new understandings that such sets of readings and explorations are generating in me, and I'm really hoping that you will also expand on your understanding of the deepest corners of the internet. All right, so this is my general introduction to the unit and the module. And as usual, we're going to have annotations assigned, we're going to have some exploration there, and we're going to be journaling for this initial unit. And I want to see you in action with this journaling and exchanging of ideas. For this first module, we're just going to be exploring what is it that it's been labeled as the deep internet. All right, have a great week, and I look forward to seeing all of us interacting around these interesting ideas.